FHS season tickets.
Welcome into another episode of FHS Season Tickets. I'm Michael.
And I'm Nick.
And it's going to be the first episode back after a significant amount of time that we've been gone. And we're going to be talking about the NBA trades did go down over All-Star Weekend. Well, really, only one trade. Nick, can you tell us what happened? And did we free Anthony Davis or did we not?
Well, we're going to have to see how the program and the organization, keep in mind an organization that in the past has not been good at acquiring talent or developing other than Anthony Davis, but Demarcus Cousins has been sent to the New Orleans Pelicans. Sacramento and Cousins, Demarcus Cousins have finally had the long-awaited divorce that I think both sides really needed at this rate, but the trade was for Demarcus Cousins and Omri Caspi, the big part of that trade, to go to Sacramento for Buddy Hield, Tyreek Evans, and a protected first-round pick and one second-rounder. So
don't forget about my boy Langston Galloway.
And Langston Galloway, yeah, he's a good
another
bench
big
player.
part of that trade. Him and Omri Caspi.
So so we'll definitely see how this works out. I think it's really interesting combining two big men that have been historically great in the past and even this season, who rank in some of the top statistical leaders that big men, any big men we've ever seen. I think they perfectly complement each other, but let's see New Orleans mess this up, and Sacramento already messed up the trade already.
Yeah, I totally think Sacramento messed up, but Sacramento was in one of the weirdest situations any NBA team has probably been in historically, because Demarcus Cousins is so good that they were right now seeded 11th place for the NBA draft lottery. If their pick is between anywhere from 11 and 30th, they don't get their first round pick, and the Chicago Bulls have it. And somehow, if their pick is inside the top 10, the Bulls only take their second round pick. It doesn't transfer over to another year. Really weird how that works, how a first round pick can turn into a second round pick. But also, since Sacramento was so in love with Rajon Rondo, Costa Koufis, and someone else in free agency, Philadelphia has their pick swap. So Philadelphia not only has their ping pong balls to get top 3 in the lottery, but they also basically have Sacramento's ping pong balls. And if Philadelphia ends up going on a tear to end the season and they finish, let's say, 10th in the Eastern Conference and they're not in the top 10, well, they would swap picks with Sacramento, who's obviously going to fall off without Demarcus Cousins, and then Sacramento would take Philly's pick if it's outside the top 10 and lose their first round pick to Chicago, which would be the worst case scenario for Sacramento, because they would basically just lose out on their first round pick this year off a trade that happened a couple of years ago that now has no implication on their team. They also don't have their 2019 first round pick that's unprotected with the Philadelphia 76ers. And also, not forget, the 76ers have the Lakers first round pick this year if it is outside top 3, and if it's in top 3, they have it unprotected in 2018. I feel like we've underrated how well Sam Hinkie did at the process and the amount of assets that they have right now. Do you think that Philadelphia fans, the NBA in general, was a bit harsh on Sam Hinkie?
Yeah, Sam Hinkie definitely set them up, but I think that we should really talk about the impact this has on New Orleans. Mike, you perfectly covered what the implications on Sacramento and the intense stress that intense inner workings of the trade for them, but basically summed up that they're rebuilding and they have to really walk a tight rope.
But they can't rebuild because they don't have a 2019 first round pick.
They have to walk a tight rope to rebuild, and they have to find some good talent with the newly acquired picks that they have. But I think that for sure that could end up being one of the worst trades of all time. It could go down, and isn't it just fitting that came from probably the most dysfunctional team since the Chris Webber, Peja Stojakovic days. It's been pretty downhill the last 15 years, but let's get back to the New Orleans, because I think that's the highlight of this trade. Probably the two best talents to ever come out of Kentucky, both big men, both
playing on that Colin Cowherd?
Both playing on the same what?
You know that they're the best from Kentucky against Cowherd?
Well, you just look at the Kentucky talent that Kentucky's put out, and they look like the best that's ever come out of Kentucky.
I know, but Coward, he's been receiving a lot of flack for his quote that saying that Kentucky guys underachieve. I think that
that's
Demarcus
completely
and
false.
Davis and Cat 2 and Booker, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Knight.
They're young, and he's saying that the reason why he's saying that is because they don't have the rings yet, and Anthony Davis never won a playoff series, but he's
played with
23
trash
on a bad
teammates.
team, yeah.
And Demarcus Cousins had played with like 3 owners and 4 different
Yeah.
head coaches, and hasn't played with any solid point guards like
Right.
Rajon Rondo. might
Yeah,
have
so I
been
think that was a ridiculous statement by Coward, but came back to New Orleans, super excited for this, and I cannot wait if they're the 8th seed and Golden State's the 1st seed. I know Golden State will beat them, but seeing Cousins and Davis going up against Pachulia and an undersized Draymond Green, like, good luck having Draymond guard Davis, because that matchup would have looked like Pachulia guarding Davis and getting help from Draymond, but now you got Cousins, a good passer in Davis, kicking it to Cousins down low, dominating that matchup. I think that could be something really cool to see, and they just really need to build out their guards and their wings. And I saw an interesting trade an interesting thing that could happen this summer, being Chris Paul joining their team, and then you would have Chris Paul, Davis, and Cousins. I don't even know how, you would obviously want to do that if you're in New Orleans, but I feel like you want to fill out your roster similar to what the Celtics have done, and go all in on Chris Paul, who's older, almost injured every year. Then your team would almost look like the Clippers, it would be a little bit better than the Clippers if you could fill out your bench, but I think you would almost rather get solid guys around Drew Holiday in the wings than go for Chris Paul, but that's a topic for another day. I think it's definitely a win for New Orleans. I'm happy for New Orleans. I hope they get back to prominence, and I like these teams that are on the come up, like Sixers, New Orleans. We could see interesting new crop of NBA teams that we can root for after the Golden State and the Cavs simmer down.
Now this is really interesting for New Orleans. I have a lot to say about this. Chris Paul actually did say that he's mutually agreed to sign a deal with the Clippers in the offseason. Do I buy that? Not really for a second right now, but he said it, so
you gotta take those type of things with a grain of salt.
That's a very good point about
if they trade Blake Griffin, he's not gonna want to stay.
Chris Paul's not gonna be well, I told you, so I'm gonna stay.
Exactly.
DeAndre Jordan told the Dallas Mavericks that he was gonna sign with them. Look what happened.
Yeah, a day before. Yeah, so it happening in February I think that would agree.
But with the New Orleans Pelicans, Anthony Davis actually has a significantly better record this season when he starts at power forward versus when he starts at center. At center, they only win about 30% of games, or at power forward, they're winning almost 40% of the games. So
and now
that's
he's lining up with the best center in the league,
increase.
Which is insane.
And the New Orleans Pelicans were thinking about trading for Jahlil Okafor for the exact same package minus Buddy Hield. So just adding Buddy Hield to that trade got them Demarcus Cousins instead of Jahlil Okafor. The first round pick was rumored to be lottery protected, so you wouldn't get the first round pick this year, but still, it's basically the same package because the Sixers would get in the next 2 years. Just adding Buddy Hield.
If the Sixers would have pulled that off, that would be a heist for the Sixers.
They basically have the...
They're not even using Okafor.
No, which is why if the Sixers can figure out a way to dish Okafor for a first-round pick this year...
The problem with the Sixers is, we'll probably make another video on the Sixers because of just how much we like the Sixers and the fact that they're pretty much stacked when it comes to their potential, but Embiid really needs to stop getting hurt. That's the only problem with the Sixers I can see, is if Embiid never lives up to potential, becomes almost like a Ralph Sampson type, and but if you could have Embiid healthy, that's the key to the whole COD. Because then you have a guy like Dario Saric, even obviously Ben Simmons, who could be a generational talent, who is obviously a generational talent. And you have a guy like Dario Saric, who's drafted. You just have a bunch of Europeans stashed and those type of guys. Dario Saric will probably move down to the bench once all of these talents acquired. But we'll definitely make another video on that. But I just want to get my viewpoint out on that.
Okafor is a really interesting situation.
And Noel.
Because, Noel is also on the team. But Okafor, he doesn't fit in Philadelphia, but he is a very solid offensive big man, but he's not that great defensively, and he he just doesn't really work with Noel or Embiid on the floor at the same time. So really, the only time he can play is when both those are on the bench. But I still think he does have talent.
I don't see a place where he fits though right now. You
If
need
you
to
have-
combine offense with defense. I feel like you want a defensive center first that gets offense. You don't want an offensive center that doesn't have any defense. Like I don't even know
For
what team
teams-
where I would place him on.
For teams that can space the floor, especially with a power forward that can shoot, having Okafor off the bench, a team with less bench scoring, could actually be a really solid impact for
He
them.
was a third overall pick though. I can't see.
I could see the Sixers getting a pick in the late teens, early 20s for Okafor right now this year. Which I know you don't want to bail on a guy who just averaged almost 18 points a game in his rookie season, but he's just really bad defensively that I really don't know which non-contending team is going to be able to take him. But going back to your point about Drew Holiday and getting them set with assets, Drew
Right.
Holiday actually is one of the best point guards in the NBA at beating up against bad competition, against teams that are in the bottom third defensively in the league the past 2 seasons. Drew Holiday averages like 6 more points per game versus teams in the top 2/3 defensively. So basically, I'm looking at the computer. Drew Holiday is a guy who just buries on bad teams, and I don't think he is the point guard that is going to get the New Orleans Pelicans over the hump. But another problem with the
I mean, he's an
Pelicans,
asset that you have with the Pelicans, but I don't think it's going to be this year. But maybe you can take the Warriors maybe a 1 or 2 games with that big lineup and see what happens in the end. But going back to the Okafor point one more time, the Sixers. It's crazy that they spent a number 3 overall pick and it was basically a bust almost, and it didn't ruin their franchise. Looking at who they could have had, obviously Kristaps wouldn't have taken him there, so I'm not even just going to count that as New York was just in a hustle. But I mean, it doesn't look like in the top 10 they passed on much. But if you would have added some of these guys like
if they would have
Stanley
known
Johnson,
that
maybe
Miles
even
Turner
Willie
was
Cauley
gonna be
Stein.
one of these.
Well, Miles Turner, but I'm just looking at the top 10. Like, they passed on some guys, and they're still looking at a bright future. It would be insane. It would be truly insane to see what they could have had, or like what they could be like right now. Imagine if Towns slips somehow.
Or Russell even, like because the Lakers.
That just shows the potential the Sixers have because they have more of these picks in the future. If they hit on a couple of these picks, already having Simmons and Embiid on the roster, wow! Like if Towns would have slipped, they would have had Towns. There's the draft you can build if you're in that lottery. If you're top 5 prime, you can get like top 5. The top 4 worked out here with Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor, Kristaps, and Mario Hezonja.
I called that. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
I called Mario Hezonja being trash.
I can't believe he went top 5. Like,
I know.
He went top 10, but not top 5. But anyways, it's just crazy how much the draft, one player, especially in basketball, can change a whole franchise. And if you get 3 or 4 of those players, the Sixers have potential. Again, we're probably going to make a Sixers video, but that's just a little sneak peek on what kind of potential and arsenal that they have right now.
Yeah, I'm actually working on getting some people from the Philadelphia area who cover the Sixers like professionally, so we'll get their take on all the draft picks that they'll be getting, hopefully sometime in the next month, so by the middle of March, before March Madness does happen, because that's another huge event that is going on. And thankfully, this Demarcus Cousins trade will give us something that's so big going on in the world of sports, because usually the NBA trade deadline this time of the season is kind of a dull period in sports, because college basketball near the end of the regular season isn't the most exciting time for college basketball. I feel like non-conference play and then conference tournaments and March Madness is the most exciting time. And then in the NBA, it's really the start of the year and the playoffs that people really do pay attention, and nothing's going on in football right now. So with the New Orleans Pelicans, one thing they're going to have to fix is their wing play, and they are rumored in a lot of trades. But what do you think the Pelicans are going to do starting E'Twaun Moore and Solomon Hill?
Well, again, like I said, those got like this year. It's like a buffer period for the potential, because I didn't even realize that Demarcus Cousins is only 26. Feels like he's been dominating for a while, and he's just entering his prime. Davis is already he's already playing all-time great, but he's not in his prime yet. So I'm thinking that this year is kind of a buffer period. Maybe you want to take Warriors. Maybe you want to win a game or two from them. Obviously, not going to win that series though. But I mean, maybe make some madness happen if Davis and Marcus go off a couple games. But I think this is a buffer period. Then, like I said, in the summer, it looks like you would have plenty of cap room to go out and get some solid guys that everyone that sleeps on. Because in the NBA, you can get those guys. Just look at the Celtics rosters, basically assembled from all those guys that people slept on. And I think that they'll be fine. But their trade partner, unfortunately, Sacramento, I think that it's bad times are coming, bad times keeping on coming, and they're gonna be tanking for a while to even. I don't even think they can hit the reset button until 2 years. 2 years, then they can start their rebuild process. They're going to have a 2-year dead period, I feel like. And even looking at it, you forget how talented their rosters have been in the past with guys like Demarcus Cousins, obviously. Isaiah Thomas was on that team.
They drafted Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, Hassan Whiteside, I was about to say. Hassan Whiteside. Their teams have been super talented. They just never evaluated. Never evaluate talent, and maybe that's even showing with the Buddy Hield obsession, which, I mean, Buddy Hield's a good player, but not even at the caliber of anyone of Demarcus Cousins. Obviously, you're going to get pennies on the dollar, but I heard a great quote from ESPN. They basically got pesos on the dollar. For the star, but, I mean, usually you're going to get a lower valuation for a superstar, but nothing like this. This was insane.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about.
Which is why I'm super excited for the trade deadline, because maybe this could kick stuff off, and obviously Cavs won't do anything crazy, but who we're going to be looking out for. But the Celtics, I can definitely see doing something crazy, and maybe even some of those contenders in the East that want to get to it. But Raptors already picked up Ibaka, which was pretty big. That was kind of like under the radar, but we'll see what happens with the trade deadline. I think this definitely kicks stuff off, and it's a huge kickoff, huge implications on the whole league.
I have 2 things to say about this. Buddy Hield, I cannot stress, so overrated, okay? The man's already 23 years old. I've said for a long time that Jamal Murray will be a better pro than Buddy Hield. I believed in him when he was at Kentucky. I still stand by this. Buddy Hield has not transitioned to the NBA game well at all. He's way older than Jamal Murray, 3 years older than him because he did stay 4 years in college, while Murray only did play 1 year. And Demarcus Cousins,
too. So Murray's young.
You want to know what's crazy? Demarcus Cousins shoots a better field goal percentage on jumpers than Buddy Hield. So the one thing Buddy Hield does well is shoot jumpers, and Demarcus Cousins is better than Buddy Hield at shooting jumpers. And Buddy Hield's one of the worst on-ball defenders in the NBA. Teams are scoring 1.1 points per possession when going up against Buddy Hield right now. That's a bottom 10 percentile mark in the NBA for guards. And also with the Pelicans, if they miss the playoffs this year, which is a very real possibility, they're 2.5 back of the Denver Nuggets, who have been playing well with Nikola Jokic having a breakout season this year. NBA Twitter loves this guy. But
him in the skills challenge was impressive because he doesn't have the build of some of these fast centers. Like you look at Davis, he looks fast. You look at Kristaps, he looks pretty fast, but Jokic just looks like a regular center, but his handles are pretty good and his passing is really great.
If Jokic was 6'2", he could pass for a dad in this town.
You could really, yeah. He just looks like a regular, non-athletic center in the league, but he does pretty good things.
And going back to my point, if the Pelicans miss the playoffs, I really do think the NBA draft lottery is rigged. I feel like throughout all the history, the NBA draft lottery is rigged.
No, what happened?
If the Pelicans miss the playoffs.
Oh.
The NBA doesn't want the Golden State Warriors to dominate the league for 5 years. What if the NBA gave the Pelicans a top 3 pick this year to let them compete with the Golden State Warriors if they miss the playoffs?
Well, I would think that it would be more likely that they make the playoffs as the 8th seed.
I would say it's more likely than not that they make the playoffs, but if they miss the playoffs, the NBA doesn't want the Warriors and Cavs, I wouldn't think, to be easily walking into the finals like you could have in the next couple of years. If you get the Pelicans another guard, watch out for that team.
I think the Cavs are on their twilight, honestly. Being a Cavs fan, I mean, I think they're in the twilight years, maybe 1 or 2 years of complete domination. But then these other teams are definitely going to start catching up. We have yet to see what happens at Golden State. I personally don't think this is why I like this big center team because I myself a center. I don't think guards can dominate the league as much as centers can or big men. Like going forward, they can really change games. And if you have a team with I just don't think that the league has gotten much talent in the big man spot in a while. Now these big men are coming up, so
and they're all under 26.
Yeah,
like
so
Cousins is the oldest.
I think that both Golden State, obviously in age, you wouldn't think that they were on their twilight years, but maybe the system's not. I mean, Joe Lacob or whatever his name is, their owner or GM, I think, said that they were 10 years ahead of the rest of the league before losing the finals. Maybe they were ahead of the league, but the league's changing. But I think that the Cavs, based on the age of LeBron and just injuries, all their veteran teams, like the cap space, that's going to prevent them. But I think 1 or 2 years of domination. So I don't think that the league would fix it in that way to make the New Orleans Pelicans get a top 3 seed to fix it. I think they understand that everything really is going to balance out in the NBA. It always does. I mean, even though the Bulls had a long run, it wasn't constant, and that's like the only real showing of a dynasty in the NBA.
Now you made a
other
great
than the
point.
Celtics, but that was way before the NBA really
Yeah, that
got
was
huge,
when NBA
so.
had like 12 teams. So
Exactly.
let's be honest. You make a fantastic point that the Cavs can dominate for the next 2 or 3 years.
1 to 2 years.
1 to 2
yeah.
years, you said.
Well,
I
to
think-
be locks to win the East 1 to 2
Yeah.
years. The Celtics are going to catch up, not the Raptors. But
I think the reason why the Celtics didn't trade for Demarcus Cousins is because Demarcus Cousins, he's only signed for
Isaiah.
18 months.
Yeah.
And if you're trading all your assets for Demarcus Cousins, you're getting Demarcus Cousins for 2 playoff runs guaranteed with LeBron still in the prime of his career.
Right.
I believe that Danny Ainge made a calculated decision to keep all the assets that he does have now and finally go for a push after LeBron hits
Exactly.
back from the prime of his career. I actually think this is a really underrated move by Danny Ainge, as long as he doesn't make a panic move and goes after Blake Griffin. At the Celtics, you get Blake Griffin. All the good things I've said about them on this show, on Twitter, off air, will go away because that will make no sense, in my opinion. Pairing Blake Griffin
an
with Al
injury
Horford
straddled.
does not
I would have
work.
rather had Cousins than an injury nagged Blake Griffin.
And then Jimmy Butler, it's better than Blake Griffin, but I still don't think it's superstar that's going to get you over the hump this year. I
He's
believe
older
the
too. He's
Celtics.
27.
I think the Celtics made a great decision by waiting it out this year. A lot of Celtics fans are going to be disappointed. I
like the
really think.
I don't like the Markelle Fultz pick if they do. I think they need to get they already have a point guard. If
Here
you
is-
go for point guard,
here
I
is
think
an
it's
interesting-
Lonzo. I think
Jason-
you need like an athletic wing or something, or like a center even.
Jason McIntyre had them taking Lauri Markkanen, the 7'1" center out of Arizona.
Not number
from
1.
Finland.
Trade down to get him.
Well, here's the thing with the
'Cause
lottery.
teams
You
want
don't
Markelle
even
Fultz.
know. You don't even know.
Usually you cannot trade
that-
down if you're in the NBA because teams don't want them, but now teams will go after Markelle. He could be a number 1 point guard in this league, but they already have that. I think that get them over the hump, they need to get they need to get like an athletic wing, like a Kawhi type or something. But I mean,
And Josh
that's topic
Jackson,
for another time.
let's
Exactly.
say, even if the lottery doesn't work out for them and they get 3, Josh Jackson at 3 isn't
That's
a horrible
almost
pick.
like I would have almost wanted him number 1 if I'm just based on team.
If I'm Boston and I get the number 1 pick, I would trade down.
Yeah.
Now, also, that would probably work against them because other teams go, oh, you don't need a point guard, so why would I give you fair value for your pick when I know that if nobody makes a trade with you,
But
you're
if
not
those-
taking the guy I need?
But if those that would only work if you're maybe number 2, but Markelle Fultz is going 1 or 2 at the least 2 because he's such a generational talent. So I think that's true. But if those teams really want the player, they can't fool around. They need to go out and get them, or else they're gonna miss a potential superstar.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of great points in this video. We'll be making some other follow-up
Yeah,
videos
NBA
after the
definitely
NBA
is
trade
started
deadline.
heating up. I mean, we're both NBA fans, and it's getting into the best times of the year. And the NBA right now, it's even crazy just the fact that there's almost two people averaging a triple-double. Like, I'm interested to see why that's happening, or is the NBA just getting a lot more talented, or is something going on, the way playing style or something. But we'll talk about that in another video.
We'll save my opinion for another time.
Yeah, we'll hear that later. That's a little cliffhanger for you guys, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of FHS Season Tickets. Hasta la vista.